The Devil's Bible is one of the most striking, unusual, and memorable books in existence.
There is a view that the Bible itself is cursed.
There is always going to be this sense that there are just some things which are too terrible to contemplate having emerged from a human soul.
Recently, shocking statements by Mel Gibson have completely upended the historical perspective on the Devil's Bible, the largest medieval manuscript ever recorded in history. According to him, all anomalies originate from the portrait of Satan, where the author deliberately removed every form of spiritual protection. This absence is, in fact, a trap, forcing the reader's gaze into a direct confrontation with evil. Notably, this anomalous image is directly linked to the adjacent pages, where incantations explicitly invoking demons are recorded for a ritual known as the Key of the Devil. However, this ritual cannot be activated arbitrarily. It requires an extremely strict cosmic condition at a single moment in time: the alignment of celestial bodies in 2033. This discovery is quietly transforming the book from a passive artifact into a necessary conduit of a dark mechanism, one that exists solely to await the activation of a shadowy gateway into our own era. The deified object. For centuries, the Codex Gigas, or the Devil's Bible, has rested securely within the annals of history. Scholars have long placed it there without question. It stands widely recognized as the largest illustrated manuscript still surviving from the medieval era. A vast physical legacy that emerged from a Benedictine monastery in Bohemia during the 13th century. Its pages hold the complete Bible along with historical accounts, encyclopedias and medical treatises, turning the volume into a library in miniature and powerful proof of the faith and relentless dedication shown by the monks of that distant time. Even the colossal portrait of Satan. The manuscript's most controversial feature has been fitted neatly into a sensible theological frame. It sits in perfect symmetry opposite the image of the heavenly city Jerusalem, and this pairing has always been viewed as a clear visual lesson. In the traditional reading, it serves as a classic warning, a stark reminder of the eternal choice between the road to salvation and the unending torment of hell. This reading has turned the book into something passive, a symbol whose historical purpose had been fully decoded. It lies quietly in museum collections as evidence of pure religious thinking, a giant heritage that feels safe and perfectly understandable. The agreement about this doctrinal icon had remained rock solid across many generations. Yet, as the latest statements from Mel Gibson have now made clear, this comfortable view is shattering completely. Investigators have begun to examine once more the very physical makeup of the pages they believed they already knew inside and out. The fresh inquiry highlighted by Mel Gibson opens with a simple question that has never received a truly satisfying answer. If the portrait of Satan is merely a warning, why was it crafted to violate every single theological safety rule known in the era of its creation? Medieval religious art followed strict protective guidelines without exception. Any depiction of evil had to be visually contained by symbols such as the cross or angels. The creator of the Codex Gigas, however, deliberately stripped away every one of those protective layers. This absence was no accident. It formed a deliberate design strategy. The wide open space around the devil's image works like a visual snare, compelling the viewer to meet an unchained entity face to face. This visual irregularity does not stand alone. It connects directly to the pages right beside it, where researchers have uncovered an entirely different system of writing. These are not prayers or sacred songs. They are precise, practical incantations. The texts name specific evil entities outright, and they supply step-by-step directions for one particular ceremony that the manuscript itself calls the Key of the Devil. The presence of a complete set of operational magic instructions placed directly beside the Bible already forms a striking contradiction. Yet, the fact that these instructions sit immediately next to a portrait engineered to heighten visual engagement has sparked a deeply unsettling idea. Perhaps this section of the book was never meant to be read at all. Perhaps it was meant to be used. The fissure in the official story has now opened wide, transforming what once seemed a simple religious treasure into something far more potent. The time-displaced code. The idea that the area surrounding the Satan portrait might function as an active tool rather than mere illustration has forced investigators to abandon their old approach entirely. The work has shifted away from pure historical text analysis. It has become instead a direct attempt to unlock the precise operating mechanism of the ritual called the Key of the Devil. At first, the process moved slowly and carefully, following the strict rules of traditional historical research. Linguists and experts in ancient scripts were brought in to peel apart every layer of meaning in the incantations. The early hope was that these passages would match familiar patterns of medieval folk magic. On the surface, they did appear to contain recognizable linguistic structures and symbols using words and grammar that can be found in other occult writings of the period. Yet the deeper the examination went into grammar and vocabulary, the more small but consistent irregularities emerged, breaking every surface similarity. The language in these instructions does more than plead or command supernatural beings in general terms. It is packed with surprisingly technical vocabulary describing parameters, variables, and environmental conditions required for the ritual to reach peak effectiveness. The text never speaks of faith or devotion. Instead, it lays out a sequence of physical actions that must be performed with almost mechanical precision. The incantations no longer resemble prayers. They read like lines of operational code in which every syllable and every gesture serves as a critical variable within a larger equation. Their internal logic feels far closer to a technical manual than to any spiritual document. The greatest anomaly appeared when researchers turned their attention to those environmental conditions. The Key of the Devil ritual cannot be performed at arbitrary symbolic moments, such as under a full moon or on the winter solstice, the way other folk ceremonies can. Instead, the text describes extremely specific and complex celestial configurations that seem wildly out of place for 13th century knowledge. It refers to simultaneous alignments of multiple planets and the exact positions of certain constellations along the ecliptic, and it demands a precise ordering of the entire sky down to the smallest detail. At this point, traditional historical methods reached a complete dead end. No historian could match these intricate cosmic arrangements to any recorded astronomical event in Europe's past. The data refused to align with any known moment in documented history. To break the impasse, investigators had no choice but to turn to modern technology, a step never before taken in the study of a religious manuscript. Every ancient astronomical description from the Codex Gigas, including coordinates, angles, and relative positions of celestial bodies, was carefully digitized and fed into supercomputers running universe simulation software. These powerful systems can recreate the night sky at any point in past or future time with near-perfect accuracy. The process unfolded under mounting tension. Millions of years of cosmic history were swept through the machines, yet no match appeared. The computers kept calculating, searching for the single instant in the flow of time when the sky would line up exactly with the blueprint recorded 800 years earlier. Finally, after a long and seemingly hopeless search, the system gave a signal. It had found a perfect match. That moment, however, did not lie in the past. The shocking discoveries. The result returned by the computer simulation shattered every existing framework for understanding a historical text. The astronomical data encoded inside the Codex Gigas was never a record of the past. It was instead a mathematical calculation aimed straight into the future. The cosmic coordinates converge with absolute precision on a rare alignment of solar system bodies, a specific arrangement scheduled to occur in the year 2033. The discovery triggered an immediate shock of realization. The notion that a 13th century manuscript could contain future data so accurate that even Renaissance astronomers could not have matched it transformed the book from a cultural relic into a scientific paradox. The 800-year gap between its creation and its activation is a void no historical theory can explain. The astonishment over this mathematical precision quickly gave way to a profound sense of unease as researchers reread the full text of the Key of the Devil ritual in light of the new information. Suddenly, every previously baffling technical detail became clear in a terrifying way. This ritual had never been a spell that could be performed at any time. It was a set of instructions engineered for one single moment in all of human history. Every parameter, every variable recorded in the text formed part of one larger equation, and the year 2033 is the final solution to that equation. The incantations are not magic. They are operational steps that must be carried out once the environmental conditions, in other words, the cosmic order, stand in exactly the right position. Yet the greatest shock was still to come. When the researchers re-examined the physical requirements of the ritual, they uncovered one final demand, a detail previously overlooked because it seemed too absurd. The text states with perfect clarity that for the key to function, the Codex Gigas itself must be physically present. The book is not merely a container of information. It is an essential component of the ritual mechanism. It is not the map, it is the compass. This requirement elevates the volume from a simple information holder to an active operating device, a mandatory physical conduit without which the entire ceremony will fail. The book can no longer be copied. It has become a unique, irreplaceable object. The discovery left behind an unbridgeable explanatory gap. Why would a group of people in the medieval period pour enormous resources into calculating a cosmic event 8 centuries distant from their own lives? And why would they tie the success of a dark ritual to that precise future moment, while also demanding the presence of a 75-kilogram physical block they could never guarantee would survive? No historical record offers any answer to these questions. Only one stark and difficult truth remains. The book appears to be a physical key engineered to fit a temporal lock that will open only in the year 2033. It is not a relic of the past. It is a component waiting to take part in an event that still lies ahead. The Reluctant Guardians. With the discovery of the year 2033 and the book's role as a physical conduit, the entire history and structure of the Codex Gigas suddenly reversed in meaning. Without needing any new facts, the understanding of every known detail began to collapse, making way for an entirely different and colder logic. Seen through this new lens, the book had never truly been a library or a work glorifying God. It was a machine lying dormant, a device constructed with one single purpose: the capacity to endure across time. Its extraordinary physical features no longer serve as proof of religious devotion. The gigantic size, the 75-kilogram weight, and the fact that it was crafted from the skins of 160 animals were never meant for show. Those were technical specifications optimized for extreme physical durability. The creators employed the finest bookbinding and material preservation techniques available in their era to guarantee that this information machine could withstand the ravages of time, war, and fire across 8 centuries. It had been engineered to survive. Its passage through historical plundering and devastating fires was never a miracle or spiritual curse. It was the inevitable result of superior engineering design. The content of the manuscript has also changed completely in its fundamental nature. The inclusion of the full Bible, along with historical and medical works, was never about preserving knowledge. It formed the perfect camouflage. By presenting itself as a priceless cultural treasure of Christianity, the book ensured that future generations, precisely us, would commit every resource to protecting it. Modern civilization, with its advanced museum and library systems, has unwittingly become the ideal guardian for a device it does not truly understand. Our reverence for history and art has been cleverly exploited to serve as the very protection mechanism for this machine. The portrait of Satan is no longer a warning. It functions as the activation interface. The deliberate absence of spiritual safeguards was intentional because it was built to be used, not merely observed from a distance. It serves as the interaction point where the operator would initiate the sequence of commands. The incantations form the code, and the astronomical data for the year 2033 acts as the temporal lock. The true horror lies in the realization that the minds who created this system knew perfectly well they would not live to see it activated. They intentionally designed a mechanism that would borrow the course of human history and our own respect for heritage as its transport vehicle. We are not simply studying the past. We stand at the end of an 800-year journey. The danger does not come from some ancient spirit. It arises from the fact that we have become the perfect caretakers for a machine that was programmed long ago and is now aimed directly at our own era. The silence of the system. This shift in perception has pushed the Codex Gigas far beyond the safe boundaries of archaeology, creating a sharp break in how official institutions now respond to it. Museums and national libraries exist to preserve the past, not to manage a potential future threat. The reaction of the system to such a paradox has exposed the profound limitations of modern science when confronted with a problem that refuses to follow ordinary rules. Once the mathematical connection between the key of the devil ritual and the astronomical coordinates for the year 2033 became clear, a deliberate silence descended over official channels of publication. The release of specific details regarding the phonetic structure of the incantations, as well as the physical parameters of the ritual, suddenly halted. Academic papers continued to focus only on the safe exterior aspects of the book: calligraphic techniques, chemical analysis of the ink, or the history of its movement through different dynasties. This focus serves as a smokescreen, deliberately steering attention away from any comprehensive analysis of the operating mechanism of a device that now sits waiting for activation. Discussions about the book's true nature have been relegated to unofficial forums, while respected scientific publications carefully avoid the subject. At present, the manuscript remains under strict lockdown inside a climate-controlled underground vault in Sweden, protected by multiple layers of reinforced glass and the most sophisticated security systems. Officially, this is standard preservation protocol for an invaluable artifact. Yet the attitude of the managing authorities reveals a deeper institutional caution. Science is normally driven by curiosity and the desire to experiment, but with the Codex Gigas, there exists a consistent refusal to simulate the variables of the ritual. No institution has granted permission to measure the acoustic effects of the chants when recited aloud directly in front of the portrait, nor has any physical testing been approved to compare results against the simulated cosmic conditions. This silence does not stem from lack of capability. It arises from self-awareness of limitation. The fear does not originate from the image of the demon on paper. It comes from the modern scientific system itself, a system that recognizes it is facing a problem for which it possesses no adequate tools. How can a museum draft a proper risk assessment for a ritual designed to open a dark gateway? How can an astronomer justify committing massive resources to investigate a phenomenon that lies outside the known framework of physics? Silence and physical containment have become the only available defense. Yet locking the book inside a sealed case cannot stop the movement of the planets. The system has chosen not to confront the situation, but that choice cannot slow the cosmic clock that continues its relentless countdown toward the year 2033. The passive machine. The investigation into the Devil's Bible does not lead us back into the superstitious world of the medieval period. Instead, it reveals a far more disturbing truth: a design calculated with ice-cold precision and a profound understanding of human nature. The greatest question why a Christian text would be created in this manner now possesses a systematic explanation, even if it brings no comfort. The core mystery of the book no longer concerns who wrote it. The real question is what it was programmed to do and how perfectly it has carried out that mission. By stripping away every safety boundary on the page and anchoring it to an unchangeable astronomical moment, the creators established a conduit that reaches far beyond a single human lifetime. This object has performed its first phase flawlessly, surviving completely intact for more than 8 centuries. It exploited our thirst for knowledge, and our deep respect for heritage to shield itself. Wars and fires that destroyed countless other artifacts only increased its value and mystery. Ensuring it would always be stored in the most secure locations civilization could provide. We, with all our pride in cultural legacy, have unwittingly become its most dedicated protectors. Now the book has reached the final stage of its journey. It has arrived exactly on schedule in our era, in perfect condition, and guarded by the most advanced technology available. It needs to do nothing more because the nature of a temporal lock is complete stillness until the final moment arrives. Understanding the operating mechanism of this manuscript offers no sense of release. It merely confirms a new reality. This enormous machine from the 13th century is no longer a relic of the past. It is a device currently in standby mode, quietly counting down the remaining years until the order of the heavens aligns precisely with the dark inscriptions on its pages. All efforts to seal it behind glass cannot alter the fact that the cosmic clock continues to run, and we, the final guardians, can only stand and watch.